We're going wild for flowers as we take a look at North American natives in this show. The colorful details coming up next. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. In today's show, we're taking a look at North American native plants, both in terms of the beauty and color they can bring to the garden, as well as the visual interest they can bring inside your home. Now, in today's show, we're going to go to some unlikely places and meet a few new friends along the way. For instance, you probably wouldn't think that I would invite a plant named Joe Pye weed into my garden, now would you? But I like old Joe Pye weed just fine. In fact, he gets along very well with many of my other plants, including goldenrod. Now don't sneeze just because I said that. As you'll soon learn, this plant isn't responsible for hay fever at all. I'll reveal the real culprit coming up. There are colorful projects, answers to viewer questions, and like I said, travel. So when we come back, we'll be in Austin, Texas, at the peak of wildflower season, enjoying the sights of the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. If you like colorful gardens, then stay with us. This is Austin, Texas, the home of the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, and what a beautiful place. But what you see on the surface is only the beginning.
Well, this institution was founded by Lady Bird Johnson when she returned to Texas from her years in the White House, and of course, during her White House days, she was trying to encourage people to recognize the natural beauty of our country and to bring it into their daily lives in gardens and displays along roadsides. And we try to get across the idea that this part of the world, as every part of the world, is just naturally beautiful when it's just itself. And it has a rich, rich display of wildflowers that are available for people to see. So when you come in the spring, it is particularly wonderful here. Texas is blessed with an enormous array of wildflowers that occur here naturally. And we've just kind of gathered them all up, and we have natural displays and we have horticultural displays. The whole idea of the architecture of the Wildflower Center is the connection between the human environment and the natural environment, between natural heritage and cultural heritage. For example, the aqueduct out front borrows from the Hispanic tradition and some of the architectural elements you see in Texas from those early days of the Hispanic culture here. Some of these seed silos echoes the ranching tradition of Texas. The metal roofs, the same. The little house, which is our children's education area, looks like an early German schoolhouse or farmhouse. And so all of those elements were put together here at the Wildflower Center. The vision of the Wildflower Center is to help Americans connect with the natural beauty and the biological diversity of this continent. You know, our vision is that we do a better job of preserving and restoring the native plant communities of our country and encouraging people to bring native plants into their daily lives, in their gardens, in their communities, in their parks, along roadsides, and to connect with that natural heritage that is so wonderful. Anywhere anyone may live, it's beautiful when you really look at the natural environment.
Okay, so now are you inspired by the native plants at the Wildflower Center? Well, just wait until I show you where I discovered a plethora of North American natives growing. Here's a hint. Plus some arrangements that capture the spirit of the harvest season. That's all next, so don't go away. You probably wouldn't think that I'd have to travel halfway around the globe to get a closer look at some of our North American native wildflowers, the kind we see growing along roadsides and in meadows. But here I am at the Kaukenhof Gardens in Holland. This is this country's most famous and premier display garden, where I've discovered some familiar faces from back home. You Europeans have taken American natives and improved them, and now we're growing them back at home in our gardens.
That's correct, like this Rebecca. And how do you call it in American?
Well, this would be a black-eyed Susan.
Oh,
yeah.
They are hybridized, they are selected, and now they give more flowers, I think.
Yeah.
And the colors are perhaps a little better, but I don't know the native exactly.
And there's so many other examples
The
here.
Potterium, I suppose.
Yeah, the big tall Joe Pye weed. Yes, I grow it in my garden as well. Yeah.
And Tradescantia.
Yep, the spiderwort. Yep, a very good shade plant.
And phlox, of course. We have hundreds of varieties, cultivars in fact, from phlox, summer phlox and goldenrod.
Yes, that grows very tall in the
Normally tall,
States.
but
You have the short dwarf ones here. And of course, one of my all-time favorites is the purple coneflower.
Oh yes, it is over there.
Yes, yes, there it is.
And even if the petals are disappeared, it's beautiful.
While this garden may be best known for its spring displays, what you can see here in the summer is nothing short of spectacular. In my opinion, an underappreciated North American native is sumac. Now, you've probably seen this showy red shrub growing along roadsides. It's at home from Canada to Florida, and because of its beautiful seed pods and spectacular foliage, this plant and other members of its family can be found in many landscapes. Sumac is actually a close cousin to poison ivy and poison oak, but this variety called smooth sumac is actually harmless. In fact, it's even edible. These tiny velvet-covered seeds are loaded with ascorbic acid or vitamin C. They have a sour taste, which is one of the reasons this plant was called the vinegar tree. Native Americans used them in cooking when a sharp, acidic flavor was needed. I think these seed heads are very interesting and useful in dried autumn arrangements. Their color is a deep, rich burgundy that can add strength to any composition. What's also nice about them is that they'll last for years without fading. I cut these just yesterday, and they'll remain just as you see them now. Now, if that arrangement caught your attention, then you're going to love this one. It combines the bounty of the harvest season with such terrific blooms as asters, dahlias, and even goldenrod. I always enjoy putting together some of these autumn plants for a simple centerpiece. For this arrangement, I'm using just a shallow dish as the container and a block of florist foam as a base to hold the flowers. Now, since this centerpiece will be long and narrow, I'll use some of this brightly colored liatris to establish its length, and to define its height, I'll use this bittersweet. I like to make table arrangements low enough to be able to see and visit those seated across from me. Now that the size is established, I'll use some of these festive dahlias for a bold splash of color, and I'll fill in with asters and goldenrod. Many believe that this American wildflower, goldenrod, actually causes hay fever, but it doesn't. You see, ragweed is the real culprit. Both plants bloom at the same time of year, but since goldenrod has such a showy flower, it usually gets the blame. So hopefully, you won't avoid using it in your floral arrangements. This time of year, there's so many interesting and beautiful gifts from the garden for floral arrangements. The main thing to remember is to use your imagination and just have some fun. Up next, some natives I grow in my garden and some you might want to try in yours. I'm always knocked out by the vast array of colors and new varieties of plants you can find at a showcase like this. Just look at this Prophet series of mums. Take a look at this beauty. This is called Madeline. I love the soft lavender color, but if you look a little closer, the flowers themselves are outstanding. They look like little stars, and each of the little petals are shaped like spoons. Now, if you really like that rolled petal or spoon petal shape, you ought to take a look at this one. It's called Mariah. I love its beautiful golden color. If you're into a more daisy form mum, you might try this one called Sunny Camille. Mums are a great way to extend color in our gardens well into the fall. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome back. Today we're wild for flowers. A little earlier, I created a stylish centerpiece using asters and goldenrod, as well as some perennial fall favorites like dahlias. We took in the sites of the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center and also found some North American natives in an unlikely place, Holland. I thought you might enjoy learning a little bit about some of the natives I grow in my garden. Of course, I have the usual suspects, I've already mentioned goldenrod, and then of course there's purple coneflower, Joe Pyeweed, Rudbeckia, or black-eyed Susan, and then there's yarrow, or sometimes called achillea. But there are a few plants that may surprise you. For instance, this is clematis, which is often regarded as the queen of the vines. It's one of my favorites. If you've ever grown this plant, you know that these vines can grow rapidly. And because they're such enthusiastic growers, I use an ordinary clothespin to help hold and direct their long tendrils. Now I have to say there's so many varieties of clematis to choose from. It's hard to make a choice, but I have about 4 in my garden. One of my favorites is this delicate beauty called the Duchess of Albany. I like it because of its bell-shaped bright pink blooms. It contrasts beautifully with the pale blossoms of the rose. If you're looking for a fast-growing, flowering vine for your garden, you might give clematis a try. It will reward you with blooms for years to come. Now speaking of rewards, wow, it's hard to beat salvias. I grow a wide range of them, but nowhere near the collection I found at the home of enthusiast Betsy Klepsch. Betsy, how long have you been growing salvias?
Oh, I've been growing salvias for so many years. I have learned over the years that deadheading is so important for salvias because it promotes keeping the weight off the plant and promoting rebloom.
Yeah, so by taking off those dead flowers, you're encouraging the plant to put forth another wave of flowers.
A whole new wave of flowers. With deadheading, you will get 3 to 4 repeat blooms on some of these plants. I mean, now, who wouldn't want to do a little maintenance?
Why, sure, with those sorts of returns.
Oh, they're big returns in store.
One of the things I'm struck by in seeing your garden for the first time is this beautiful combination of antique roses and salvias. They're great companion plants.
They're both pretty disease-free and floriferous and just good all-round plants.
I receive a lot of questions about roses, particularly climbing roses. It seems they've become very popular. People love seeing them growing over arbors, along fences, or walls. Now this question comes from Elizabeth in North Carolina. She's planted a New Dawn rose after seeing one of my reports on this amazing plant. And what she's struggling with is how to get the rose to grow on a brick wall. First of all, climbing roses grow faster and stronger when you direct and train the stems around posts or other supports. Take a look at my New Dawn. It's growing up and over my arbor because there's something to support it. But of course Elizabeth is trying to grow New Dawn on a brick wall, and supporting anything against brick or masonry is challenging. But I've come up with a little system to handle just this type of situation. First, find the appropriate place on the wall and drill a hole into the mortar joint with a 1/4-inch drill bit. Then place a lead anchor into the hole and tap it to make sure that it's secure. Now for something to attach the canes to, use a number 8 screw hook and twist it into the lead anchor. As you do this, the lead will expand to fill the hole. For the last step, take a 6 to 8 inch piece of medium gauge wire and run it through a 3/4 inch diameter piece of clear vinyl tubing. You see, the tubing will keep the wire from cutting into the stems of the rose. Then just wrap the tubing around the cane and attach it to the hook. I'm thrilled Elizabeth chose the New Dawn rose because it's such an exceptional plant. Now, if you'd like a list of other roses that are great performers in the garden, just check out my website. That's pallansmith.com. And you can sign up for my weekly newsletter. It's free and full of tips, recipes, and answers to your questions. Up next, kids are young at art as they learn to paint pottery with a botanical theme. Stay with us. Beautiful flowers never cease to inspire me, both as a gardener and as a painter. I was happy to learn about a program in my community, perhaps there's one in yours as well, where they're helping children see beauty in nature and transform it into little works of art.
Hey kids, how are y'all today? Good, are y'all ready to paint? Well good, well what we've chosen today for y'all to paint is a little flower pot. You see in front of you, each of you have a flower pot and it's made out of bisque pottery. And so what that means is it's ready to paint, no trouble. Does that sound good? What we've done is we've gotten some beautiful flowers for y'all to look at and you can pick your colors. All right, and what I've done, we've got special paint that is used for bisque pottery. And what I'll do is you can tell me what colors you want, and we squirt just a little bit on this little tile here. You just dip your paintbrush right in it. A little bit goes a long way, so we don't need to pour a lot, okay? It's easy, it sure is. So everybody has your paintbrushes picked? All right, what we also can do is you can look at the flowers. If y'all want to paint flowers on your flower pot, you can. You can paint grass at the bottom, and I've chosen some pretty greens for the bottom of your pot. And then I've got just about every bright color that's in this bouquet out here on the table. So you just kind of let me know what color that you want, and I'll pour it on your little tile for you. Or you can paint whatever else you want on your pot. And we also have number 2 pencils. And these number 2 pencils, you can draw whatever you want on there, and then when we're ready to put it in our big oven, this number 2 pencil completely fires out. So if you want to draw something, you can use that. All right, is everybody ready? Okay, let's get to painting. Do you want some blue or some purple? Those are pretty. What children do normally when they come in, we don't have any set times. They can come in and paint anytime. We're open Monday through Saturday. They just come in with their parents and they just pick out what they want to paint. They come, we make a little spot for them at the table. We ask them what colors, they get to choose their colors, and then we kind of just direct them on what, how to paint it, and then they just sit down and have fun and paint. The kids love painting. I mean, it really gives them a chance to express their creativity. The parents love it. And they just really get to come in and be themselves and to really express who they are through their artwork on different pieces of pottery. And it's a treasure that the parents will hold forever. Very good. Hey, that kind of looks like a butterfly. Doesn't it? It's supposed to be a flower, but oh, now you just made it a flower with a red stem. Very good.
Isn't this sumac gorgeous? It'd be perfect in an autumn arrangement. It just looks so rich and luxurious. I hope you've enjoyed today's show on North American natives. We've seen how beautifully they can be integrated into the garden and the home. Now, any of the plants and projects that you've seen in today's show can be found on my website. That's pallensmith.com. Until next time, from the garden, I'm Alan Smith.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.